kept asking you to come to Las Vegas several times, from what I understand. Is that right?
Yeah, a few times. They had when I first got out of the joint, they had a homecoming party for me, and him and his brothers were there. A lot of people were there, and he told me, "Well, now you could come out to Vegas." And I said, "I can't right now. I'm on 2 years parole, so I got to stick around here." He said, "Well, when you're off paper, think about it." I said, "Okay." So I stood back there and opened up a few businesses, a couple different types of businesses, and.
So you went into legitimate business for several years.
Well, I went into legitimate business because I tried to go legit.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I definitely tried to go legit. And this time it was the cops that didn't want me to go legit.
Really?
Yeah.
How
They
did
were
that-
making my
tell
life
us a little-
miserable.
Tell us about that. What do you mean?
Well,
they
they found out where I was at, what business I had. They started sending guys over to break the windows, and I knew they were doing it. Who else is going to break my windows? And then they raided my disco. I know that for sure. They raided my disco, and I found out who was behind it. It was in the suburbs, and so I said, "These guys are legit." So then I just went back to my old criminal life.
I see. So, at what point did you actually join Tony in Las Vegas?
Right after I sold the disco. I think it was 79.
Around 79.
Yeah.
Now, when you arrived in Las Vegas and you were reunited with your boyhood friend, what did he expect from you? What did he want you to do?
Well, he wanted me to watch his back. I was like his muscle, and I was told to bring a crew out there, people that weren't associated to him.
So you handpicked the crew.
Oh yeah, they were my guys.
They were your guys. Okay.
And one of them was from the penitentiary I was in, and the other ones were guys that I knew, from the route, being on the route before. And at first they all lived back there except two of them, and then eventually they all started to come to live to Vegas.
Right.
So we sort of like watched his back, and then he'd send us on different things to muscle different people.
When you say muscle people, what do you mean by that?
Well, if anybody had a booking operation out there, they were running book, you know what book is, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And he'd say, send your guys over to the house, scare this guy to death. He says, because I got something going, I want to just scare him. He wouldn't let me know at the time what he was up to. And I'd send my guys over there, and they'd grab the bookmaker, scare him half to death. And then he'd call up his boss. If the guy was from Boston, he'd call up the guy in Boston, New York, whatever. Then they'd reach out to Tony and tell Tony, hey, some guys in Vegas are muscling my guy. Non-be-knowing to them that Tony was sending my guys over. So he said, I'll take care of it. And he said, we'll take care of you. So they started giving him a piece of their action.
So that was a way for him to get money out of these people by having them think it was other, not his people.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, at what point, I mean, there was a point in time in Vegas where you guys pretty much ruled the town to some degree. I mean, you were involved with, I believe, what, the Dunes Hotel or one of those hotels like that?
We had connections in the Dunes.
Yeah.
With the Stardust, the Fremont, the Hacienda. That was our biggest
And what was your
connection.
position at that point?
Well, I knew, everybody that was somebody in the hotel knew me. And they used to tell me if somebody was stealing or cheating in the casino, and then I'd have to go get them with my crew. Or I'd get guys comped in from Chicago. They'd come out, gamblers, high rollers. They'd think they were getting everything free. They'd wind up blowing 30, 40,000. So they were paying more than the room was worth.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's still the same today, right? If you give it
still
away, they're not giving it away.
Not giving anything away.
Tony, I believe, had a jewelry store that he started, and you guys had a gang or a group that was eventually called the Hole in the Wall Gang. Can you tell us a little bit about how that got started?
Yeah,
and
we
what
got
that
a
was all
label.
about?
We got a label again from the police. They start referring to us as the Hole in the Wall Gang because we start knocking holes in walls. We were beating their alarm systems.
This was prior to motion detectors, in other words, so you were avoiding the doors.
We knew if there was motion detectors in the house.
Yeah.
And some people got pads under the mats, and you know where to step when you're in these houses. Of course, now they're much more modern, more
Right.
sophisticated, and we'd go in right into the bedroom. The master bedrooms where they would keep their stuff.
So most people kept the private or personal
Right.
belongings in the bedrooms.
And if it was homes, that's what we'd done. You know, the way we would do it. And we start getting the label as the Hole in the Wall Gang. And I told my
Now, who gave you that label? The press or
the press,
The press,
I guess,
okay.
the press, or the cops would tell them, and the press would put it down, however it went.
Mhm.
So I told the guys that were working for me, I says, you know, we're going to get the rap for every hole in the wall that's made in Vegas. I said, from now on, we're screwed. We get caught one time making a hole in the wall, it's all over what it was.
So other burglars were using your techniques, and
Yeah,
so-
everybody was.
yeah, so the whole town was doing the
There
same.
was holes everywhere.
Holes in Vegas.
Holes everywhere.
Okay, well, in October of 1979, a man named Jerry Listener had to be dealt with. Could you tell us a little story about Listener and how he came into being and what happened and what you did with him?
Briefly, he was an informant. He tried to set Tony and I up, and we found out that he was working with U.S. attorney out of Washington, D.C. We found out through an attorney that was not a friend of ours, but knew somebody that was a friend of ours, and he had to be dealt with.
So Tony sent you to deal with it?
Absolutely.
Can you tell us a little bit about what
I
happened?
killed him. That's it. You read about it.
Okay, we'll read about it in the book.